SB33. We've gotten a few emails on this. I wonder if we could get paid per email to have to read all these emails. But I have to be honest, I didn't quite read them all. They were all very similar. So maybe you can explain and get to the bottom of all this. So glad to have you here this morning for the famous SB33.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have to say have gotten more emails about Senate Bill 254 than about this bill. But in any case, first of all, let me just start by thanking the members of the committee that are in the agriculture business. You've had a rough year. I grew up on a farm and I know what you're dealing with, and so I appreciate the work that you guys do. This bill, which the LC I have is 550524S. Okay. Okay. As a physician, I work a lot on public safety issues, which is why I brought a similar bill last year. But what has changed since last year is that we passed Senate Bill 494, which requires testing of Delta-9 products from hemp, but it doesn't address other intoxicating cannabinoids like Delta-8. We have very reputable processors of hemp products that are already doing the right thing in the state by testing and labeling their products. However, many of the products being sold in gas stations, smoke shops, and so on are not Georgia grown and are from China and other countries. These intoxicating cannabinoids appear in trace amounts in the plant, but then they're enhanced to make them stronger by using various chemicals. So in the wild west of these products, these chemicals may include industrial solvents, heavy metals, and other contaminants. I've been working with the Department of Agriculture since day 40 last year to come up with a solution to this issue. And to their credit, they've taken on licensing and enforcement of these businesses that sell Delta-9 THC products and are doing inspections, confiscating products, and they've licensed a large number of businesses. They provided input to this bill, and I appreciate their collaboration. I'll continue to work with them. Meanwhile, the FDA has identified Delta-8 in particular as a health risk and has continued to send warning letters to companies due to adverse events resulting in emergency visits. And the DEA still considers these as Schedule I controlled substances. The 2018 Farm Bill drew a line at 0.3% THC. Anything below that is considered hemp. Anything above that is considered marijuana. This bill defines intoxicating cannabinoids, and it includes a substance called HHC, which is synthesized from CBD. And this was drawn to my attention by the Agriculture Department. This bill gives the department the authority to include any other compound that may pop up that they deem necessary to protect health and safety. It includes these compounds in the total concentration of THC in a product. This is a complicated subject, and this bill has nothing to do with medical cannabis, which is regulated in a completely different way. It simply moves to protect the safety of Georgia citizens from compounds that are not currently required to be tested. It goes along with the Commissioner's efforts to enforce safety standards across the state. Walking through the bill on page 3, starting with line 55, that's where the definitions are of intoxicating cannabinoids. And on page 5, lines 110 and 111 talk about the total concentration of 0.3 or less, which of course is how we define hemp products. Line 141 gives the department the ability to add any other compound or group of compounds that they view as necessary to protect public health and safety. And line 166 reiterates the total concentration of 0.3%. That is the bill. It is not a ban, and it's not intended to negatively impact legitimate processors. Senate Bill 494 dealt with consumable hemp products. They already, per that bill, can't be sold to children or purchased by anybody under 21. This bill is to be sure that we protect consumers by clarifying the substances that must be included in our current program. I want to continue to work with the department to protect consumers, and so it's possible that there may be a sub at this late date, just a heads up. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you, Senator, for that. I know you've worked hard on this, not just this year, but last year as well. And thank you for this bill. We've got a lot of people signed up to talk to this bill. Is someone from the Department of Ag here? Is Catherine Russell? Would you? I know you've worked very strongly on this subject, and could you just give us maybe an overview of where the department, some challenges that you might foresee, and just where the department is on testing this? I know we've given you that authority in the past, and I think the committee would like to hear a little bit on that point, if you don't mind.
Of course. I was actually just taking notes in the back to try to address any questions or concerns that may come about. So currently with testing, you guys may remember we passed SB33 last year. And one of the things that it gave the department the authority to do was to oversee the testing requirements and the enforcement of the sale of hemp products. Now that is all hemp products, and they all have to be tested according to the requirements that we've established in rule and regulation. And we've expanded a little bit from what was included in the law, because I think it just included like THC. And so we went ahead and built that out a little bit more. And then we also, we had some authority there to identify compounds that may need to be tested for, and we used that authority to go ahead and build out a section where we test for pesticides and fungicides and mycotoxins and arsenic and other heavy metals, because the plant is prone to absorb all of those things out of the soil, and we knew that there were products that were coming from out of the country or from states where they had product that couldn't meet their standards, and so they were sending them here. And so we are currently testing for things that we've identified to be health risk there.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Sure.
Let me try to get that volume down.
Would it be okay if I maybe came back after we have other testing?
Yeah,
We
we can do that. Okay. Yeah, questions for the author before she leaves, and then we've got a lot of people signed up for and against this bill. Appreciate all them being here. We'll bring you back. Thank you, Senator.
I think I have another bill in the same room at 9 o'clock, so I'm not
Yes,
sure.
we're up against a time frame.
okay.
I know you are, so thank you. Greg Ruka, are you here to speak to this bill? And we're going to keep it very short, under 2 minutes, under one if you can, with the number of people we have and our time restraints. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. I'm Dr. Greg Raduca. I'm with the Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. I'm the Vice President, Board of Directors. I've been in the substance abuse and substance addiction profession for 50 years, retired now, but an active lobbyist for Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy. Kids have been the focus of my career. I testified previously to you about a House bill. So some of this is repeat, but I think it bears repeating because, as has been said, it's a very complex issue. I give you a handout at that previous session of the ABCs of THC because it is so complex. Senate Bill 494 was wonderful as far as it went with regulating only one kind of THC, which is Delta-9. The problem is there are so many different kinds of THC these days. Delta-8, Delta-10, Delta-11, THCP, et cetera, many different kinds of THC. The problem with 494, as good as it was that it regulated only one kind of THC, Delta-9. So, say if we keep it simple and just talk about Delta-8 and Delta-10, you could have a gummy in it, a Georgia gummy, that has just 0.3% delta 9 THC, but it could be 95% delta 8 THC. And that's the problem. And the problem also is that given this loophole that was created on the federal level, sometimes called the Delta loophole, it meant that there's no age limit. It's completely unregulated. Delta 8, Delta 10 are completely unregulated. So they're lawful at any age. So technically a 10-year-old could have a Delta 8 product with 95% THC, and there's no law against that. So Senator Kirkpatrick's bill is wonderful in that it would address all kinds of THC. And it would be so helpful to have that on the books, because there's billboards advertising 95% Delta 8 THC vapes, for example. We showed you an example of a billboard in South Georgia for a dispensary in Helen, Georgia, a dispensary kind of in the certain sense of the word, not a state licensed dispensary, I might add. So,
well, thank you for those comments. Sort of out of time. Make some good points. If we have time, we'll come back to you.
okay.
If we can move on, Alan Hart, you signed up to speak. Identify yourself, please, sir. Who you?
Sure. My name is Alan Hart, and I am the co-founder of Classic Sativa, formerly $1 Million business in Athens, Georgia. I'm a graduate of Cornell University, and I suffer from crippling anxiety and depression. I have been declared an expert witness in the courts of Clark and Morgan counties. I offer my services to you to understand this complex part of the human race. My company is part of the local and state Chamber of Commerce and have donated more than $25,000 to local and charities in the past 5 years. We employ 8 Georgia residents and have also paid the state $350,000 in sales tax. A friend of mine has a saying, all of the drugs that are tested for are out of your body within 7 days, with the exception of cannabis, which takes 28 days. Do you know why? It's because it belongs there. I want to share a story of a little girl. At 4 months, she was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, one of the worst forms of childhood epilepsy. At 5 years old, she was having 300 grand mal seizures per week. She couldn't sleep through the night. She couldn't keep food down. Her doctor estimated that she wouldn't live to see 6 years old. Her name was Charlotte Figi. Her family tried every available anti-seizure medication known to modern science. None of them helped. They were told that cannabis might afford her some relief, but they were religious family and resistant to treatments that would go against what they had been told about this plant. Despite that, and due to Charlotte's continued and ever-decreasing health, they spoke with the Stanley brothers in Colorado, who developed a strain of cannabis that came to be known as Charlotte's Web, after Charlotte and the children's story of the same name. When given the life-saving medicine, her seizures dropped to 6 per week, and she did live. She did survive due to cannabis and her endogenous cannabinoid system. Every one of us has an endocannabinoid system. In fact, all mammals, birds, fish, lizards, and much of the animal kingdom have a system in our bodies that wasn't discovered until the early 1990s. It regulates every biological system, encouraging our bodies to achieve homeostasis, also known as equilibrium. This is why research has shown how cannabis helps to heal a long list of, if not every, autoimmune disorder and countless other conditions, from arthritis to anxiety to seizures and cancer. Misinformation about cannabis has been rampant in our legislative system. Books have been written about how Harry Anslinger in 1937 fought against our American Medical Association in order to save the budget of the DEA that was being reduced due to recession and the end of prohibition of alcohol. He repeatedly and knowingly introduced false claims about cannabis, as we also heard in the Senate committee meeting regarding this bill 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have you got anything to wrap it up with, or
Sure,
a statement?
Yeah, no. I want to say that the hemp industry in Georgia is very vibrant. It was over $1 billion industry last year, and due to SB 494, that's been reduced. We have reduced the jobs in Georgia by 2,700. An estimated 2,700 jobs were lost because of SB 494. And as far as the intoxication of hemp is concerned, and these alternate THCs are concerned, they are far less intoxicating than alcohol and even caffeine and other things that we have on the shelves today. By enacting this bill, we actually will be destroying more Georgia lives, and this bill doesn't help anybody, but it hurts every single Georgian and every person in this room.
Thank you. Mark Parnell, if you could want to come speak.
Mac Parnell with the Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition. In the interest of time, I'll just simply say the Georgia Faith and Freedom Coalition is in favor of Senate Bill 33, and thank you for your consideration on it.
Okay, thank you. We have Erin Jamirez here. She's from Rowe. Thank you for being here. Identify yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Erin Jimenez. I live in Athens, Georgia. I've been in the hemp industry for quite a few years now. I have my own marketing firm now, proudly, and my clients are here. So that's all great. But I do want to respond to some things that were said about SB 33. As Senator Kirkpatrick mentioned, 494 passed age restrictions on all hemp products. It doesn't matter if it's hemp lotion. You have to be 21 years or older to buy it. As Ms. Russell stated from the Department of Agriculture, they're already doing testing on these products to crack down on things that people shouldn't be consuming in Georgia. So in reality, what SB 33 is doing is limiting the amount of intoxicating cannabinoids that adults in Georgia are able to consume. I don't believe in government intervention to that extent by any means, especially when it comes to something like this that is so misunderstood. Not to bore you with science, but as Alan mentioned, everyone has an endocannabinoid system, and Delta-8 THC does not adhere to the receptors as well as other forms of THC, which means it tends to be a softer form of THC, so not as high of an experience milligram for milligram. What that's good for is pain. People use it for sleep. People use it for a lot of chronic conditions where they may not necessarily want to feel that high feeling, but they want the relief. Limiting that, in addition to everything else that has been limited and everything else that has been discussed to be limited this session and other forms of legislation, is a pity. Because a lot of Georgians do depend on it. And honestly, a lot of businesses depend on that revenue because these are federally legal products that you're limiting in Georgia specifically. That doesn't stop people from going out of state and spending the money to online retailers and shipping it in. Georgia's losing money on that. Georgia's losing businesses that have to shut down over the loss of these products. Georgia's losing customers, period. So with all that said, I oppose SB 33, and I would really urge everyone here to also oppose it until a better piece of legislation comes forth that actually solves some problems that our industry desperately needs solved. And if you need any recommendations on that, I would love to offer my services. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We're getting up near committee to a time. And I'm going to pause, if we can, this bill for a few minutes and switch. I see another colleague in the audience who has a bill that we've been discussing for some time. And if Representative Stephen Stinks would come, and we're going to hear H.R. 368. He's been working on this issue all session as well. And I want our committee to make sure, by the way, SB 33, this was just a hearing on this bill. As y'all can see, we got lots of issues, and we got a lot of other people in the audience that have come, want to speak for and against this bill. But I thought it'd be proper at this time, Representative Saints to present his H.R. 368 to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of committee. I have been privileged to work on this. I thank Senator and Dr. Kirkpatrick, who's led on this issue, as well as many on both sides. Though I come from the viewpoint of one side on the public health side in terms of the potential harms, we recognize that there is a industry that has similar interests, that I truly don't doubt that there are folks utilizing these products and selling these products with the interests of Georgians in mind. What House Resolution 368 now does would be creating a study committee, recognizing that this is a complex issue with multiple stakeholders, a substance, when we're talking about hemp and Delta-9, which is the intoxicating substance, and now Delta 6 through H, other than Delta Dawn that's not covered in here. This would look at what's the public health harms, but also what are potential benefits that the committee wants to see, and where is the role of the state in protecting consumers from any unnecessary harm, but also safeguarding products that may need to be placed there. I'd also point something we've added to this resolution is at the end in terms of looking at starting on lines 39 going forward, looking at the excise tax. Right now there's consumable hemp beverages, though they're not taxed in correlation to, let's say, beer that has an excise tax on it. Not saying that that's something we want to impose, but we recognize that this is a market disruptor, that this is a new that this has enabled new products in the market, and I'm under the assumption, the co-sponsors are, that this would be a good time to make sure Georgia's leading on providing legislation to consumers that's fair, practical, and reasonable.
Thank you. Have any questions from the committee? Seeing that it's right up on the 9 o'clock hour, I think we would probably have to pause here. Sure. And I want to apologize to the members in the committee, in the audience who signed up for. We've got probably another 10 people there for and against Senator Kirkpatrick's bill. And so we have another meeting scheduled for Friday morning that I would like to bring these two bills back to and finish hearing if we can. With that, appreciate the committee's patience this morning here, and we did pass some good bills. And thank you, Senator, for being here. And certainly those are available for questions tomorrow and rest of the day. So thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.